The fact that Kevin Durant is even playing for the Brooklyn Nets this season is for sure already something of a surprise after all the drama that happened in the offseason. But then everything looked even more complicated for the team when the Nets started the season with a 1-5 record, which led to the departure of head coach Steve Nash. However, since November 1, the Nets are 24-7, which is the NBA's best record within that span of time, while also winning 12 straight games as of the recording of this video. Looking at it, this team has just experienced an insane turnaround, with Kevin Durant being the biggest reason for all these, as KD at 34 years old is actually playing some of the best basketball of his career on both ends of the floor. Right now, Durant is averaging 29.6 points per game, which is the third best scoring mark of his career, while also shooting a career-high 56.4% from the field. Plus, he's also draining his two-point field goal attempts on an insane 62.9% rate, which is actually the second highest mark among all 43 players to attempt at least 10 two-point field goals per game this season. But then, on the defensive end of the floor, KD is also getting things done in a huge way, as his 2.26 steals plus blocks average actually ranks as the 14th most in the entire NBA. But how is Durant actually doing all these, and are these stats actually enough for him to build a legitimate most valuable player case this season? So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls here, but one sec, if you guys do happen to enjoy this video, please do me a favor by hitting that like button. It only takes a second of your time, but it will be much appreciated. So let's get to it. The prime years of Kevin Durant have coincided with the NBA's jump shooting revolution, but while almost all of his non-big man contemporaries have been taking more three-pointers and fewer shots from the mid-range, Durant has actually been going the other way. This season alone, KD has made a total of 164 two-point jumpers so far, which isn't only the most in the NBA. He's also converting those shots at an insane 58.6% clip on 14 attempts per game, which is a mark that also ranks first among all 23 players to attempt at least 100 two-point jump shots this season. Overall, it's just really hard to overstate how amazing that is, because since the NBA started tracking shot locations back in the '96 season, the great Michael Jordan and Dirk Nowitzki have been the only two other players to be able to blend that kind of two-point jump shooting volume and efficiency for an entire season. However, Durant's current percentage actually tops both players' marks by a considerably wide margin, while also topping the 54.3 two-point jump shooting clip that he produced last season, which was also the best mark that the NBA has seen over the past 25 years. In short, KD is again on pace to complete the best mid-range jump shooting season in NBA history, making him the best mid-range scorer that the game has ever seen. Well, as an OKC Thunder fan, I've closely paid attention to how KD destroyed defenses even during the earliest parts of his career, and the crazy thing is, right now, he's still pretty much doing the same things. He's creating his own jumper by dribbling right into the heart of defensive coverages, and even the best defenders in the NBA haven't really figured out how to deal with his insane combination of size, handle, footwork, and touch. Overall, Durant is just really automatic. Once he puts the ball on the floor, he gets to his spot and he sees even just a tiny bit of daylight. And the numbers also back this up, as this season, KD's actually shooting 55.2% uncontested off the dribble jumpers, which isn't only the best mark in the league right now, but it's also on pace to be the highest conversion rate among the 1,200 recorded instances when a player took at least 100 contested off the dribble shots in a season since advanced shot tracking began in 2014. Also, watch Durant get into his shooting motion and you'll pretty much easily see why he's been so efficient as a jump shooter even against the tightest of defensive coverages. In this clip, watch how Durant shakes Jarrett Allen with a double crossover, but with Allen still hanging around, KD takes an extra pound dribble as he gets into the baseline with just enough space to drain the contested fadeaway shot. Then here in isolation, Durant starts with a quick right to left cross against Siakam, then watch how he uses his size and speed to gain separation against the entire Raptors defense in the paint as he goes for the quick jab before draining the 16-foot jumper against two defenders. This time, you can see KD act as a screener in the pick and roll, but as he gets the short bounce pass, watch how the quick snatchback dribble creates space against Banchero. Banchero tries to close out, but it's already too late to stop the jumper as KD gets the end one. Overall, Durant has just really continued to get buckets out of almost anywhere on the floor and out of any kind of situation this season, whether it be when he's acting as a pick and roll ball handler or even when he's posting up. As when you look into the most commonly used play types applicable to star level players, players, you'll see that Durant's production simultaneously belongs in the top 15 of those play type categories. This is the kind of dominant offensive force that Kevin Durant has continued to become even in his 15th NBA season. But speaking of him being already in his 15th season, we know that KD's already been named to an All-Star team a total of 12 times and has been an All-NBA team member 10 times as well. But the thing that's really been quite intriguing for me is how he's never been selected to even a single All-NBA defensive team. However, I think this season just might be the type of year which could end all the talk about how elite and how underrated of a defender Kevin Durant really is. Well, on the surface, KD's currently averaging 1.5 blocks per game, which ranks 9th most in the NBA. But then look into the top 10 of the list and you'll see that he's actually the only guy considered to be a non-big man and the only guy who doesn't really have a big reputation as a shot blocker in it. That's already impressive enough, but then diving deeper just helps you understand Durant's defensive impact even better, as looking into the advanced numbers, you'll see that this season, KD is actually holding opponents to 43.4% shooting when contesting their shot. That defensive percentage actually ranks as the 3rd best among all players to have contested at least 400 shots this season, with teammate Nic Claxton and former teammate Draymond Green being the only ones with a better mark than Durant in the entire NBA. Well, for sure, Durant's size and length will always give him an advantage in terms of challenging opposing player shots, but over the past couple of years watching him, I think you could just see that it hasn't only been the physical tools. Durant has also just really been able to increasingly incorporate his defensive awareness and discipline on that end, and without a doubt, playing mostly as a power forward or even as a small ball center over the past few seasons have definitely just further allowed KD to showcase his defensive versatility, whether as a one-on-one defender in the perimeter or as a weak side help defender around the basket, which the numbers also back up. As according to PBP Stats shot tracking data, there are currently 64 players who have contested at least 200 shots in the paint this season, and Durant is actually allowing the 7th lowest field goal percentage among those players, as opponents are just converting 51.5% of their shots in the paint when Durant is the nearest defender, with teammate Nic Claxton again ranking number 1 in the entire NBA in that category. All those metrics simply indicate that whether you ask KD to switch against quicker guards, athletic wings, and even some big men, he would still be able to hold his own in every defensive possession, which is also something that the eye test confirms when you watch him play on defense. Here, you can see KD guarding Brandon Ingram from the top of the key. You can see him not biting on the pump fake and how he just uses his mobility to cut Ingram off his driving lane, and even when BI goes for the turnaround, KD's long arms still allow him to force the miss. Here against Milwaukee in the half court, watch KD switch on Brook Lopez in the post. You can see how he uses his table base to neutralize Lopez before easily blocking the hook shot attempt. Then here, watch KD effectively mirror Tyrese Halliburton's movements while guarding him in the perimeter. Halliburton ends up settling for the sidestep 3, but KD stays disciplined and forces the miss even without fouling. Overall, with Steve Nash at the helm during the early part of the season, the Brooklyn Nets actually ranked 29th in defensive efficiency, but since coach Jacque Vaugh took over, the Nets have produced a 110.3 defensive rating, which is the 6th best in the NBA within that span of time. This only proves how Brooklyn's system has found new and switchable rotations that are capable of getting stops, with Kevin Durant and Nic Claxton being at the center of the team's defensive rise. And I think this kind of development should only bode well for Brooklyn's championship aspirations, as 9 out of the past 10 NBA champions have actually ranked as a top 10 defensive team during their title-winning seasons, with KD's 2018 Warriors championship team being the only exception. Well, at the end of the day, we already knew that Kevin Durant is one of the best scorers to ever live, and we knew that this Brooklyn Nets team was always going to be able to score with the best of them. But it's actually the way that Durant has become a major game changer for Brooklyn defensively that changes the entire conversation about this team's contender status. And because of this, Durant is currently making a push for his 2nd NBA MVP award, along 9 years after he won his first one when he was still in OKC. Well, sure, there might be better numbers and narratives from other players that could stand against his way from winning, but what's for sure is, it's hard to imagine this Brooklyn Nets team becoming this dangerous without this peak version of Kevin Durant that we're witnessing right now. So thank you guys if you made it this far into the video, and do you think that Kevin Durant can actually lead this Brooklyn Nets team to a championship this season? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.